And happy 2024 everyone! During the tail end of 2023, I went on a small quest to give new names for the Paradox Pokemon found in Scarlet and Violet. You are now watching part 3 where I go over the new Paradox Pokemon introduced during the Scarlet and Violet DLCs. The first two Paradox Pokemon on this list were introduced before the first DLC wave, but they came in the form of buggy raids and so some people weren't actually able to catch them until they were reintroduced during the Indigo Disc DLC in another raid. Though apparently they actually worked this time. Well, here I am to finally talk about the DLC Paradox Pokemon. This video took a while longer because I wanted to first enjoy the DLC myself over the holidays, give other people a chance to play them without getting spoiled by me, and because I had a hard time coming up with one of the names for the new Paradox Pokemon. I also didn't help that my audio just died. Yeah, I had to re-record everything in the last 2 days. Though you no longer have to wait since all 300... Okay, that was only 100 new subscribers when I first started the first draft. Huh. Well, I'm guessing all 300 new people are finally here to see what are the new names for the DLC Paradox Pokemon. We first start off with the ancient ancestor to Suicune, Walking Wake. As to how the Johto runners could be descended from dinosaurs while being felines in the modern day, or how the very existence of these particular Paradox Pokemon could coexist with the initial origin story of the Johto runners being resurrected by Ho-Oh is a complete mystery beyond me, unless you really want to suggest these Paradox Pokemon somehow lived all the way up to the Brass Tower burning down, only a century before the Johto games took place, from which Ho-Oh revived their bodies into Raikou, Suicune, and Entei. Well, one mystery I could solve is what Walking Wake's true name could be. And my answer to that is Suicune. The ancient forms of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune seem to take after dinosaurs, and the dragon type has sort of become a makeshift dinosaur type. Hence why their ancient counterparts all gained the dragon type. From there, all I did was add the word Ryu into Suicune's name, Ryu itself being the Japanese word for dragon. The idea of an ancient dino Suicune walking on water isn't so outlandish if you look at the Basilisk lizard and the way it runs across water at high speeds, just as Suicune is able to walk on water as though it were on land. Released with Walking Wake is the future form of Arizion, Iron Leaves, who I now call Trizion. The Swords of Justice trio have a sword motif, and the future counterparts expand upon this idea by giving them energy swords that appear when they use their new signature attacks. Iron Leaves gets the move Psyblade, a move whose power increases when used in the electric terrain, which creates a greater incentive to stack the benefits with the Quark Drive ability. When using Psyblade, 3 massive swords jut out of its head and neck in order to cut down its foes. From there I wanted to make reference to the number 3, and so I added the word Tri to replace the first part of Arizion's name to create Trizion. This is also a light reference to the Mortal Kombat Triborg. I also kept the Ion part of Arizion's name, since the future forms of the Swords of Justice all have the Quark Drive ability, and gain power from electricity, or charged ions that put their bodies into overdrive. The next Paradox Pokemon might be my favorite of the bunch. The ancient entity that would one day become Entei, Gouging Fire. Its names in the other localized languages make reference to fire and some kind of weapon or attack. Since Paldea takes place in the Iberian Peninsula, I took a special look at the Spanish name for it, Flamariete. Since Gouging Fire is a fire dragon type, I wanted to include the word Ryu into the name somehow, to continue the theme with the ancient Johto runners having the word in their names to represent the dragon type they eventually lost by the modern day. This was difficult, but I soon came up with the name Ariete. Flamariete is made from Flama and Ariete, the Spanish words for fire and battering ram. I then took the Ariete, stuffed Ryu into it, and then stuck Entei onto the end to create Ariente. This name took a lot of effort to make. You could say it's even complex and full of layers. According to Bulbapedia, Gouging Fire may be a reference to the Deacon Traps, a volcano that may have led to the extinction of several ceratopsian dinosaurs. Ceratopsians, such as Gouging Fire. Now you may have noticed how I put emphasis on the word layers, since the Deacon Traps are a type of volcano that is built on layers of hardened lava. A shield volcano. Now where have I recently seen a shield just a short time ago? This information also adds a layer of irony since a volcano may have wiped out the Gouging Fire population and maybe kept fossilized remains of their bodies. Entei's Silver Pokédex entry mentions how a new Entei is born when a volcano appears. Perhaps somehow its life cycle is tied to volcanic activity, either causing its demise in the past or giving it new life in the present. Again, major thanks to whoever wrote the Gouging Fire's origin section on Bulbapedia for sending me down this rabbit hole. I couldn't have done it without them. Also, I realized during recording that there's another layer to add to the audio Entei name, is that it vaguely sounds like someone asking, "Are you Entei?" Huh. The next Paradox Pokemon and final ancient member of the Johto Runners is the recently rediscovered ancient Raikou called Raging Bolt. The new name for Raging Bolt actually came to my mind the second I saw it in the reveal trailer. And so, rain, fire, and lightning upon us, Raikuden. To get this name, I started with the base name of Raikou, and just like Suirikyu and Arientei, I then worked Ryu into Raikou's name. From there I included Kirin at the end of this name. Kirin has its lingual roots from China, Qilin, and even made its way over to Korea, Girin. Over summarizing some history, Kirin describes long-necked dragons and eventually became the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean words for giraffe. When finalizing the name Raikuden, I suddenly remembered the story of the Raikiri sword from Japan's Sengoku period. One of its many historic figures was a name named Tachibana Dosetsu, a man who, according to legend, managed to cut down an incoming lightning strike and renamed his Chidori sword into the Raikiri, or lightning cutter. After perishing in battle, he then passed the blade and his clan along to his daughter, a woman named Tachibana Ginchiyo. All three of you viewers that have played Pokemon Conquest may have shuddered in nostalgia because Ginchiyo was the warlord who ruled over the Violet Kingdom, the dominion of the electric-type Pokemon, such as Raging Bolt. After making this connection, I knew Raikuden was the perfect name to give it. The next Paradox Pokemon is the future form of Terrakion, Iron Boulder. Iron Boulder was said to have been a Terrakion modified by an evil organization in its Scarlet Dex entry. A Univin legendary Pokemon, modified by an evil organization, undergoing cyberization to become a living weapon. Now where have I seen that before? But let's not worry about the potential implications of that idea, or wonder if Team Plasma somehow survived into the distant future. Instead, I would like to make a small confession. I actually had a really good name for Iron Boulder one night, but then I had a couple drinks too many and I forgot it before I could write it down. Being honest, Iron Boulder is the main reason why this is the first video of 2024 instead of 2023. I did end up creating two new names to try and make up for something, but those still aren't as good as the original I came up with. The first constellation name is Buldirion, stemming from the words bull, boulder, durable, and once again doing the Ion theme is Trizeon. The Ion at the end of Buldirion is pretty close to 1, representing the single massive blade on its head. The other constellation name that I came up with was Terraclavon, stemming from Terrakion and mashing it with Cleave from Mighty Cleave, and adding the on again at the end for the same reason as the previous name. I suddenly went Baklava. While I think these alternate names are fine, it still wasn't as good as the original name I came up with. But if you have a suggestion that would be better, do share them in the comments. Maybe one of your ideas could unlock a lost memory of me, or if it's that good, you could just replace it altogether. We're now at our final Paradox Pokemon, the future Cobalion, a Pokemon called Iron Crown. I actually had a name planned from a year ago when I wanted to make a video about hypothetical new Eevee evolutions I would make. The project was scrapped, but one of the ideas was a Steel-type evolution called Cobaltion. Seeing as I haven't gotten around to that initial project in so long, it probably meant it wasn't going to happen. And the name I made fits perfectly with Iron Crown so well that it would be a shame to not use it. Plus, it actually fits surprisingly well, and so I decided to call this thing Cobaltion. Just change the spelling by one letter. Cobalion and Cobaltion sound like cobalt, making reference to the blue metal as both of them are blue steel-type Pokemon. The Co at the start of Cobaltion's name I got from the Co prefix meaning two or together, as Iron Crown's new signature move is Tachyon Cutter. Its new signature move where its horns grow into two massive antlers as it cuts down its foes. And just like the last two future forms of the Swords of Justice, Cobaltion's name also ends with Ion to represent the benefits that they will receive while in the electric terrain. And there we have it, all of the DLC Paradox Pokemon with creative and new original names. As one final curtain call, here are Suiryu-kun, Trizeon, Arientei, Raikuden, Buldirion/Terraclavon, and Cobaltion. As you might have noticed, I made sure to give each trio a running theme. The ancient Paradox trio derived from their original counterparts with the word Ryu added to them, and the future Paradox Pokemon all have the word Ion, and detail the number of energy swords each of them possesses. Another oddity I noticed about these 6 particular Paradox Pokemon is that their placement in the Pokédex are in the reverse order of their modern-day counterparts. I'm not sure if it's supposed to have a higher meaning, or if it was an Easter egg of some kind, or an intentional red herring someone at Game Freak left in order to mess with over-observant obsessives like me. Thanks again to everyone that went on this journey to give the Paradox Pokémon some better names, or the many new subscribers that hitchhiked along the way. Leave a like if you enjoyed the series, comment what your favorite new names were, and subscribe if you would like to see more Pokémon videos from me and other miscellaneous videos from my friends Ian and Grant on this channel.